Heard from the president. He says he was surprised, he was disappointed by Putin. I would like to get your thoughts on why the president thought he could do what other presidents, other world leaders could not do, which is reason and negotiate with a known dictator, of course, Putin.
Well, and as you know, President Trump has had a lot of interaction with President Putin, and President Trump thought that those interactions would give him some ability to have a rational conversation with Putin. And it turns out, and President Trump has now concluded, that that's wrong, that is, you can't have rational conversations with Putin. He is bound and determined. He is committed. Putin is committed to taking over Ukraine, to destroying Ukraine. And President Trump has figured that out. So he's taken some pretty strong actions to press President Putin to the negotiating table.
Let's talk about those strong actions. The deadline, the White House announcing Moscow has 50 days to reach a peace agreement with Ukraine. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt laid out some of the consequences if they fail to meet the deadline. Here's what she said.
Well, in 50 days, as the president clearly laid out, if there is not a ceasefire agreement or a peace deal within that time frame, if Russia refuses to legitimately agree to a ceasefire, then they will face very steep tariffs, and they will also face secondary sanctions. So countries that are purchasing oil from Russia will be sanctioned as well, and of course that will do deep damage to Russia's economy.
So, of course, the question now, Ambassador, are these consequences enough to push Putin to the negotiating table?
In of themselves, no, Hena, they're not. But there's another piece of what President Trump has announced, and that is the weapons. He is talking about probably 10, some say $20 billion worth of weapons funded by the Europeans, purchased from U.S. manufacturing, U.S. defense firms, provided to the Ukrainians to allow them to prevail, allow them to resist, allow them to defend their cities from these attacks that you've just been describing. So that's the real important part of this package, because it sends a message to Putin. He cannot win. He thinks he can wait us out. He thinks he can continue to batter Ukraine, and we will get tired, and the Europeans will get tired, and the Ukrainians will get tired. And this message to Putin says, nope, we're sticking with the Ukrainians, and the Ukrainians are never going to get tired. They're tired, but they're never going to quit. They're never going to give in to Putin.
Can Ukraine potentially use this 50-day deadline or ultimatum to their advantage, Ambassador?
They can, although the 50 days is, again, less important. I think 50 days is probably too long. There's no reason to wait 50 days to put these sanctions on. But again, the sanctions are not the biggest threat to Putin. The biggest threat to Putin are these weapons that are coming. They're already flowing. The weapons that are already in Poland and Germany and Norway are already flowing towards Ukraine. And then those countries will turn around and buy replacements from U.S. firms. So that's the big pressure. That's the big pressure that has to be weighing on Putin. So that's what the Ukrainians will count on.
Leavitt also said countries that purchase oil from Russia are going to face sanctions. That's a long list. It's China, India, Turkey, EU members. There's a graphic of that list. Really good job by the team pointing that out. Talk about how important the oil is in this equation.
Very important. The Russian sales of oil and gas are funding the war machine. That's how they are able to continue to fight. That's how they continue to buy things from the Iranians. That's how they continue to manufacture. So this oil revenue, if it's depressed, if it's curtailed, can really have an effect on the Russian ability to pursue this war.
Trump gave Iran, and you remember this, a 60-day deadline to strike a nuclear deal. And we remember on day 61, he bombed their facilities. Do you think there's any likelihood that could happen again with a tactical strike on Russia?
I don't. I don't. I think that the Ukrainians are attacking Russia. They're attacking military targets, Hena. Let's be clear. The Ukrainians attack military targets in Russia, and they will continue to do that. They will have more ability to do that with these new weapons coming from the Europeans, purchased by the Europeans, coming from American firms. They'll have more ability to do that. And so that they will use. But I don't see any contingency on any circumstance where we would bomb Russia.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.